Hello everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Unwrapped, where we break down the latest and greatest news in the world of product management, entrepreneurship, and everything in between. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the show. Welcome everyone to this episode of Product Unwrapped, hosted by Product at CMU. My name is Sean, rising senior at Carnegie Mellon University. Kinshuk?
Hey Sean, I'm currently pursuing MS in product management, so glad that everybody's here, and let's just dive into it.
Hello everyone, I'm Tilly and also the little sprout. I also just graduated from CMU and gonna to join ServiceNow as a full-time PM. And Alina.
My name is Alina, and I am a rising junior at CMU studying IS and HCI. Very excited for this first episode. Passing on to Cathryn.
Hi, I'm Cathryn. I'm a rising senior at CMU studying IS and HCI, again, the same major. Very happy to be here with everyone, and yeah, let's get right into it.
Nice, cool. So for those who are listening, the goal of this episode is to quickly talk about the trending topics currently within product and most likely our opinion on it. Think of it as a discussion post or coffee chat within us, and feel free to give us any feedbacks on how you feel about the episode. Though starting off with the biggest trending topic right now, Twitter and Threads. So I mean, out of all of you all, who is currently using Twitter?
I kind of use it. I think that's
Barely use it. Yeah.
I bet you are not affected by Elon's new policy of 600 tweets per day. But in short, just some background context. Thread was released July 5th, if I remember correctly, right after the limitation on Twitter was been posted, in which you can only view so many tweets at once in any single given day, even when you're a verified user that pays $7.99 per month. And after that, like I think the whole entire Thread conversation just went skyrocketed. By July 14, 2023, the number I have on my end was Threads had reached an average of 23 million daily active users. Not to mention that I think they have broke the record of ChatGPT of reaching the 10 million mark within the first 5 days. So they're definitely the hottest topic right now. And I think a lot of people are saying that Threads is taking over Twitter or becoming the next Twitter. So I think for those who are using Twitter, that's the reason I was curious about, like, Kinshuk, if you're playing around with it, how do you feel about it? Do you feel like Threads is taking over? Do you feel like Twitter is basically losing its ground?
I don't think so yet. Like Threads is able to match the features that Twitter provides. Like I think it's missing some basic features which are being discussed very heavily across, all these tech blogs. So like ability to DM people, ability to, edit a tweet, which was recently introduced. So I think it's not like a fully developed product yet, but I think the whole team is planning to introduce those features. And let's see, I think when the product matures, then it's, I think, a better way to, better time to basically compare those two products. Another really drastic difference I saw was when Threads was launched. The engagement I could get after posting a thread was pretty high, but it has like dropped significantly over the course of last few weeks, I think. And I think, like, let's say if I tweet something on Twitter and I post the same thing on Threads, I'll get like more likes on Twitter than on Threads. Has anyone of you else also observed this?
This is surprising, I guess, because I think Threads currently have 23.6 million, but Twitter, which is long established, is currently 259.4 million daily active users. So the scale is different to begin with, not to mention the algorithm of like pushing out content automatically to other people to see. Well, I'm also curious because, like, okay, Kinshuk, this sounds a bit bad, but we're guys, and I feel like it's females, like girls, that uses Instagram a lot more. Like for the girls that's out here, Alina, Cathryn, Tilly, like what do you use Instagram for? Like what kind of posts do you do, and what kind of content do you all put on Instagram?
Tilly, go ahead.
I think for me, is mostly likely the photos and the pictures. I think Instagram is a very picture and a video heavy app. And one of the reason I think Meta is trying to thread is because every like big company is trying to compete in the large language model, which is a weak point of the Meta, because all the Meta products, let's say Facebook and Instagram, is very video and picture heavy. So I think one of the main reasons they are trying to let's say doing thread is gathering all the tags and trying to compete with other large language models. So that's something I want to call out. And also, like today, Meta just launched their large language model, which is Llama 2. Yes, compared to the Google and ChatGPT, the main competitors, I think Llama, the performance of the Llama 2 is still a little bit weaker than its competitor. So I guess this is another like deeper reason why Meta is trying to thread such a product after they are trying to shifting their focus from the metaverse back to this AI competition. So sorry to drift the topic away, but I guess this is something I want to add to the thread talk.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. But I'm just curious, why did you ask that question, Sean? Is it like, are you pointing towards something?
It's interesting because, well, for two parts. One, I think Elon, or I don't know Elon Musk enough to call him Elon Musk, recently introduced the XAI company, which is the only company now legally allowed to scrape from Twitter. So I think Tilly's point definitely makes sense. But also, Kinshuk, towards your point of, I think, getting more views or just more attractions in general between Twitter and Threads, what I was thinking was, because you need an Instagram account in order to be able to get on Threads, so the user population itself has differed to begin with, adding into the conversation. So
and
I thought that
also,
was interesting.
I have a point is that the interest point here is if the user want to delete their thread account, they have to delete their Instagram account first, which is interesting.
That's a killer product move. Like, hats off to the PMs maybe who decided that. It's like genius.
You're losing your sole existence on the internet if you delete your single Slack account, not Slack account, Threads account that you create within 2 days.
Yeah, definitely.
On the user base side, I do really want to raise this point that I feel like the engagement piece of it really depends on what users you are interacting with on Threads versus Twitter. I feel like for Threads, what I've observed is that they automatically let me follow all of my the people I follow on Instagram. And I can primarily see their posts, which are basically my friends' posts. And the interest in me chatting on a public platform with my friends is a little lower versus if I'm posting something about my opinions on Twitter is what I would say.
Exactly. It's almost like Weibo's model, where if for people in China, like the Chinese version of Twitter, you would never want to have your friends find out your account on there, because that's where you express your opinions and really just your thoughts, instead of like the presentable version of yourself that you present on Instagram. And it's like, I would say, a very different side of you that you are presenting on Twitter versus Instagram. So I feel like that's one major reason why user engagement has been going down, as well as the fact that Twitter does have a lot more accounts and just like data accumulated there. And it's just very hard for users to choose to migrate from a platform to another when another platform provides them with more information that they need when it comes to, finding out other people's opinions, news, trends, and stuff like that.
Yeah, agree with Alina's point, but I still think like Thread has a great opportunity to be a competitor of Twitter, is because like Twitter currently is already occupied by all those famous people and the celebrities. So all the traffic algorithm behind the Twitter is very centralized to those like top traffic, the top celebrities. So I think if Thread can try to can try to allocate the traffic to more, grassroots or like normal people. So this will give the new generation, because like thinking about the main user of the IG Instagram, it's mainly like Generation Z. So Generation Z has already like grow up and being able to take the lead of the public, like the public opinion. So if they can really run their algorithm like very easily to the normal people, I think there is still space for thread to grow up.
New gold rush. I think Alina and Cathryn both said like it sounds like everything is already there, but it's such a new ground for people to compete or to explore upon. And I mean, just as us, actually, P CMU has a Thread account as well, so feel free to subscribe and
definitely.
follow us, please.
Yeah.
You will be the 14th member currently.
Follow our Instagram.
Exactly.
Love our
Yeah.
thread.
But I
Nice.
completely echo with what Cathryn and Alina said, and just now I realized that like my Twitter like didn't have any of those people who follow me on Instagram, because it was like the way I used to tweet, it was like none of my friends knew that. So it was a completely different way to express things. But like Threads has just my friends. So I have to be like very mindful of, what I say, what I not say. And just the way I communicate is so different on Twitter and Threads. I think that's a very, very good point, which is like not being talked very much about, definitely in the news.
The new user group that you get to be with, what you can express off that. Absolutely. Cool. I mean, we talked about Twitter 2.0 and Tilly mentioned about Llama 2. I think there's also something too that happened. Claude 2. Tilly, what's going on with that?
Oh, yes. Yes, I think the Claude 2 is not even a very latest news today, because actually this is like, I think it's a launch Claude 2 like at July 11, so basically 3 days ago. So, but still like, like the AI space is changing every day, so it's really hard and nervous, stressful for us to follow up. But there's still, I think, like 3 point we can highlight, and or we should know about the Claude 2, which is the biggest competitor of the ChatGPT, and the most important thing is it's free. Like the ChatGPT 4 is not free. It's definitely very beneficial to the end users. And another 3 points they updated. I think the first one is they were trained on the most latest data, which is ending with like early 2023, which means that like this will be the the most latest data all those large language models are using. And the second one is like the Claude 2 enables users to upload the documentation, which is PDF and the Word format, which means that we can easily through all the documentation we have and ask a Claude 2 to extract the main point very accurately. I think this will have a huge user scenarios for the application. And the last one is kind of like is currently support, I guess it's like 200 million tokens, which is basically it can generate around 3K words in one conversation, which is like completely brutal and disrupting to this new field. Yeah, definitely this is the update about the Claude 2, and also we are saying that Meta also launched the Llama 2 today, but compared to Claude 2, I think it's still kind of like big. Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I'm also curious, like, of you guys who are using the ChatGPT or who are actually using the Claude 2.
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Claude, and if people paid attention to our newsletter, we talked about Claude 1 when it was not yet available to the public. I think it was our second sync-in newsletter, and I've been using it ever since. And my favorite part about it is that it's so much better at speaking the natural human language compared to ChatGPT. And I use it very often to refine the newsletter writing, because it's just better at writing in general. Like if I use ChatGPT, sometimes it's like the tone would get very exaggerated in a way. And I do think Claude does a significantly better job in that aspect. And one of my other favorite part about Claude is that it's multilingual and it's actually very fluent at the languages that it speaks. So I was using it to write some marketing copies in Chinese. And when I tried exactly the same prompt in ChatGPT and Claude, Claude again did a significantly better job at speaking Chinese. So for any task that I need to do in a different language, I try to use Claude instead of ChatGPT.
Good follow-up. I actually have a question for you, Alina. So we say like there is a lot of problem about the hallucination among all those large language models. How do you think, like based on your own experience, how do you think how will like Claude or Claude generally like perform on the like hallucination?
The thing is, I personally don't use ChatGPT or Claude for any tasks where I need to confirm the reality because I do not trust them. So I cannot comment on that, but I do use another AI tool called Perplexity AI that I think you guys can try out. It's a very nice search tool that cites the source of its answer when it answers you, so that you can verify whether it's true or not. But with Claude and ChatGPT, I'm very careful with asking any questions where I need to verify its truth. Instead, I usually just give it information and ask it to refine my writing for most of the part, and I do the truth filtering myself because I think I have experienced asking when it first came out, asking it to write something completely by itself, and when it does something like that, it just does not meet my expectations. So yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Really sounds like a friend that you will have. You will never check it against anything factual, but you will ask it to like refine your essays. Good.
Yeah. That's quite. I still have to use Claude. Is it? I was just curious. Is it like free for a limited time, or it's like it'll be
It's
free?
all free. It's all free right now, the Claude tool. But it's
Okay.
only available, I think it's in US and UK right now.
I see.
Yeah.
That's quite good.
And
At
also
least
I think they also have a pretty like advantage in the like 2B space because Notion AI is actually using their API, and also their API, the per token of the price of the per token of Claude is also cheaper than ChatGPT. Because I'm also doing some set projects like connecting with those like large language models. So I know like because all the startups is actually very tight on their budget. So if they can like let's say like save several cents on each token, it will be a huge advantage to the Claude tool. So yeah, we'll say this how ChatGPT, OpenAI will compete with Claude too.
great. I think in the next episode we'll probably do around where everybody will share what's the last thing they asked ChatGPT. I think that'll be cool to know. How we as users are using the tool.
No, we should ask the Claude to help us to write the script, and then we just follow the script to record an episode.
And then at the end, we'll be like, this episode is produced by Claude 2.
Produced by Claude 2, sponsored by Claude 2.
Sponsored by Claude.
Yeah, we need sponsorship more.
For anyone's interest, Anthropic is actually hosting a hackathon with featuring Claude 2 in July 29th in San Francisco, I think. So if you're curious to learn more about it, that'll be a perfect time. But with that, let's move on to something else. It seems like Slack currently is also making something else apart from we just talked about Notion AI. So Kinshuk, want to talk a bit about it?
Yeah, I think so. I think it has been raining product launches since the last couple of weeks, and Slack Canvas is probably the newest, documentation tool which Slack released. I was using it earlier this week, and I think when it was launched, I thought it would be like Slack's own Notion, but I think it's pretty limited in terms of features as of now. I think it's more like a documentation tool rather than a full-fledged Notion. But it's cool. Like, it allows you to take notes, document a lot of things on the side, and I think the most, like, if you use Slack on an organizational level, I think it gets too complicated to keep track of conversations and keep track of things like things which are important that were shared. So you can always just move it on the canvas, document it, and it's all there organized. So I think it's a cool add-on, and I think within Product.CMU we use like a combination of Slack, Google Docs, and also Notion. I would hope that if like the Slack canvas could replace at least one of the two. I'm not sure if it'll replace Notion, but I think it could replace us using Google Docs at some point. What do you guys think?
Quite the opposite. I don't think it will remove the usage of any documentation tool. I more like say this new feature like notebook inside the Slack. So basically, I saw like some of the user caught, they were saying that they unpinned a lot of group announcement in the channel, so they can put a lot of announcements like on the side in that so-called canvas. So I think this will more serve as a note or a group announcement instead of replacing any outside documentation tool. That's my take.
I think makes sense.
The part I was trying to say is it reminds me of like the group notes on WeChat, in which like you can, so basically Kinshuk, for your reference, there's this Chinese communication tool called WeChat, and people in which people chat with each other, and they have a group notes feature which like you write something on there, everyone can see. I think currently the biggest usage I see is like when there's a vendor selling something, you will like put your okay, Alina, Cathryn, tell me more about it, but you will put your orders down under the group notes, so that's how you use it. But I also agree with Tilly in that I think it will only increase the amount of usage it has on Slack, which I think it's interesting in itself because not related to AI or any current news that's happening, but Notion recently released a feature in which you can integrate with Chrome, the calendar app they have recently acquired. And I thought every app right now, it seems like trying to make their app into an all-in-one workspace. And I just thought that concept was pretty interesting. Seeing the Slack canvas and stuff.
Very interesting because I see one of like some product that I think will be very close to this is have you guys tried using Teams and Loop together? So as I'm interning here at Microsoft, what we use is our meetings are organized on Teams, and then using that Teams invite, it would automatically generate a chat, and then you can also access the notes section for like put in an agenda, meeting notes, and everything. This feels somewhat like a substitute of that, where using Slack as the communication tool, we see that it has the Zoom add-ons to it that we can join Zoom dynamically, and then on top of that, maybe adding the notes feature at the side. But also at the same time, I also don't see Slack as the primary tool for video conferences. So I do really agree with Tilly that the documentation usage is really different. So maybe let's say for Teams, the Loop documentation was a lot more for meetings. And then for Slack, it's more for summarizing what this chat has talked about or what the owners really want to tell to their community. I can imagine like a use case for, let's say, Louis Lin's interview community, where we have a lot of resources that may be lost in the threads. And right now what we do is we search for like resources or like company lists in the search feature, and then we have to parse through where our resources are. But now with that feature, maybe we can put that on the side as a resource list.
Yes, it will like, because previously I saw some users, someone my friend, they just add the resources in the bookmark, which is on the top of the channel, which is not very visually like prominent. So I think this really, you know, give the community owner a space, or kind of like give a group of people a really good space to store some like important resources and announcement.
Yep. And actually, for your reference, I think you can actually take video calls on Slack. There's this thing called Slack Huddle.
Yeah.
Great. Kinshuk, it sounds like you have tried it out. How was it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've in all the previous organizations I've worked for, we had like primarily had Slack, and with my current internship in this company, there's no Slack, so we are using Teams as of now. But I just miss Slack so much. Huddles is pretty good because it's just, you know, just a click of a button, and then you can just talk to somebody who you really want to talk to. The way I used to have like a very quick 5-minute chat with somebody just to ask a few doubts and clarify a few things. So that's good. And like a little bit of, I think all of these features really are adding value to Slack and making people spend more time within the app. So be it huddles, I think it's eliminating a lot of like quick Zoom usage. And I think with Canvas, it would probably also eliminate a lot of, you know, outside documentation where you can have notes and conversations at one place. So it's all just based on, you know, how to increase usage.
For those who are watching the video, I've just successfully migrated to somewhere quieter. Thanks for waiting. But I think to Kinshuk's points, like I think talking about all-in-one, there's a lot of apps that's currently trying to do that. Not mentioning Notion, Google Drive, like these were already out there. Trello is making their effort into, or same with Microsoft, making moves and things like these. Seems like Figma itself is also trying to expose themselves into more users. So Alina, if you want to talk a bit about it, the newsletter we wrote about conflict.
Yes. So if you paid attention to our newsletter in our latest issue, we actually talked about the Figma's latest update, which is the Config 2023 updates that happened 1 month ago. But I would like to give you guys a quick rundown about some of the cool new features that they announced. For those who don't know, Figma is a super popular design and prototyping tool used by tens of product teams these days. With Config, Figma shared some of their updated visions to build a tool not just for designers, but for the entire product development teams, which is exactly the point that you guys just raised, that a lot of like even a design tool like Figma is trying to like include more users into their platform. So amongst many cool features, including advanced prototyping and variables, I am personally most excited about the potentials of dev mode. Dev mode aims to make Figma more developer-friendly by letting coders inspect designs, see spec data, and generate code snippets within Figma. And the goal is to create a shared workspace for designers and development team. And the reason why I think this is worth highlighting is that for designers that worked with engineering teams pre-Figma age, you would probably resonate with this, but when I was designing for my startup 2 years ago, I was using another design tool called Sketch for the UI design. And Sketch did not have any collaboration features for the development team unless I downloaded plugins, which meant that the design handoff process was extremely hard for both me and the development team. And it was just very complicated. The development team wanted to work with a specific file type called PSD, but my design files were all Sketch files. So every time I wanted to update them, I needed to go to a free online tool that can convert the Sketch files into PSD. And since I didn't want to pay, there was a cap for the amount of conversions I can do every time. and I had to wait for a couple of hours until I can make another conversion. So many complications like this were experienced by designers pre any design collaboration tool that new designers right now probably never experienced. So I am very excited about just Figma's vision to making a collaborative tool for the entire product development team, almost like a Google Doc for designers that simply makes the life easier for every party involved. But this is speaking from designer's perspective, and I am curious to know if anyone knows how the developers think about this feature, because I did hear about some very different voice.
Is it overwhelmingly positive or negative?
Some people are just like, oh, dev mode, you think you add this feature, you just add a workspace for developers in Figma can solve all of our problems. No, the designers themselves not being collaborative enough is the problem, or something like this. But I'm curious if dev mode helped at least a little bit in developers, the process of collaborating with designers at all. If anyone heard about their developer friends complaining about it, or
I'm actually saying currently I'm working on an AI set project. I'm actually saying my engineer is using that dev mode very frequently.
Go
Yeah.
Figma.
Yeah,
interesting.
I haven't really talked about their sentiment, but I think like they're using it. I think it's probably like usable. But I actually got like two follow-up questions for Alina. The first one is for Alina, second one is for everyone. So the first one is definitely, is this dev mode new feature, or is it you're just like upgrading this feature? And second,
Yeah.
go for it.
Oh, I would just go with this one first. So before this, I believe Figma had this on the side panel, there was an option called inspect, where developers can check like basic spec data about the design. But with the dev mode, it's more of like a switch button that can change your entire screen into a different workspace that is for developers specifically. So when developers interact with that workspace, they are not allowed to change any design, which is a safety measure for the design team, and they get a lot more information that help them develop easier with the dev mode. So it's basically an upgrade, but a big upgrade.
Gotcha. Yeah, pretty interesting. I think we're very closer. We're one more step closer to the no code production, because plus with AI together with this dev mode, probably like in the future, like 90% of the front end coding will be replaced. Okay, moving on to my next question. I think this is something really Alina inspired me. Is like, if we're looking into the design tools, this field and vertical, Figma is already some very monopoly. So like looking into other field like ride sharing, they have at least two players, Uber and Lyft. But in this field, if we really think about it, there's no competitor for Figma, which is interesting. How do you guys think about it?
I would say Canvas is one of the bigger competitor, or along with Sketch and Adobe XD, which like Alina, you mentioned about back in your day stories. I tried using Adobe XD, and 2 years later they told me that they stopped updating. So that was my story. But curious to hear other people's thoughts.
Oh, sorry, you can go first.
Okay, thanks. Like I'm the least design-oriented person here, but I absolutely love Figma. I think they have just nailed the product, and with FigJam, I think I've started to like using that with my team, and I think that's absolutely wonderful.
But there is no competitor, which is so weird, because if we're looking to more like collaborative tools, we have Miro, we have probably Canva or some other tools. If we're looking into the design, specifically purely design, we have like Adobe sets, like the Illustrator, the Photoshop, and the Sketch, even like the previous Sketch. But if we're saying in the field of this, combining these two things, there is literally no other competitor doing the same thing, which is weird.
I think part of
That
it is
is very interesting.
Adobe
Yeah.
acquired Figma, so they are the company with.
Even before they got acquired in this field, there's no other like people trying to copy this product, which is so weird.
I think their main competitor was just Sketch because I migrated from there, but yeah, but
That's a valid reason, Alina. Love it.
I mean, their whole interface, the experience was it was easy for me to do the migration because they served very similar functionalities. But I would say not Sketch, Figma simply does a better job at making everything more intuitive for everyone, as well as incorporating more users, just because, just speaking from my personal experience, Sketch is such a separate tool specifically for designers. Whereas, as at P CMU, we also use Sketch for making PowerPoint presentations. We use the FigJam feature for meetings and stuff like that. So I think how we use the product itself really just demonstrates how well it serves the range of users. And I actually don't know why Sketch is not trying to do something similar, but I guess Figma is just winning this battle.
No,
I
no,
think
I have one more last cut to add is probably in the future, the strategy of the Figma probably will go same with Google Doc, which is serve as a generic and fundamental product for everyone to use, not only designers, developers, because it's very easy to go onboarding. So probably everyone with some computer skills can use Figma. But if they are looking for more niche product or require more skills, they go to different direction to ask for more specialized product. So that's probably one of the trained Figma strategy Figma will go with.
I really want to.
Copilot.
Yeah.
Cathryn, I know you like that.
Sorry?
I said it's like Copilot.
Yeah. I really want to add on to this about why let's say Figma is so different from traditional design tools. I think Figma really took this really adventurous approach of using web as the base. So before Figma, Sketch, Adobe products are really a lot more desktop based, and then designers have to download their files, send it to the chat, or take a screenshot and everything. But Figma moved this into a much more lightweight option for everyone to access it on the web. And I really love how they are really innovating of different ways to make it even more lightweight for the other teams to access it. And then with the dev feature, maybe developers can understand the design language even more using this tool. So I think web is one of the main reasons why the other tools were unable to compete with Figma.
And I just Googled Figma is founded in 2012, which is 11 years ago, which already beat a lot of amazing product.
Yeah, that's a great story too. That product was pretty much dormant for all these years, and then it blew up to these multi-billion-dollar product.
I'll mention Adobe at its peak at around 2012. Figma just went there and disrupted the industry overall. So good for you, Figma. If you're listening out there, consider sponsoring us. We have said so many nice things about you, and we'll see about it. But I mean, just like everything, this all-in-one mentality really have built into a lot of products. Think about Notion, Google Doc, or I think just Google Suites in general. Like Microsoft now has Copilot for everything. I just saw a joke today that says like one of the Microsoft employee talking to another, do you want a Copilot? For a Copilot that can copilot your Copilot, that Copilot's like a Copilot that has never copiloted before. We'll see how that goes. But again, thanks for listening to us today. This is Product Unwrapped. If you like this episode, consider subscribing for the channel overall. We also have a Slack channel in which we like-minded individuals to discuss product-related topics, practice interviews, or just learning about products in general. Thanks again for tuning in with us today. See you in the next episode. And that wraps up this episode of Unwrapped. A huge shout out to our speaker Tilly, Kinshuk, Alina, Cathryn, and Chen. And if you're eager to continue to unwrap barriers and engage with like-minded individuals, we invite you to subscribe to our newsletter where you can drill down deeper into topics of product management. Thank you for joining us for today, and see you in the next episode.